Elephants are the largest land mammals on Earth and have distinctly massive bodies, large ears, and long trunks. They use their trunks to pick up objects, trumpet warnings, greet other elephants, or suck up water for drinking or bathing, among other uses. Both male and female African elephants grow tusks, and each individual can either be left or right tusked, and the one they use more is usually smaller because of wear and tear. Elephant tusks serve many purposes. These extended teeth can be used to protect the elephant's trunk, lift and move objects, gather food, and strip bark from trees. They can also be used for defense. During times of drought, elephants use their tusks to dig holes to find water underground. Two genetically different African species exist: the savanna elephant and the forest elephant, with several characteristics that differentiate them both. The African savanna elephant is the largest elephant species, while the Asian forest elephant and the African forest elephant are of comparable, smaller size. Asian elephants differ in several ways from their African relatives, with more than 10 distinct physical differences between them. For example, Asian elephants' ears are smaller compared to the large fan-shaped ears of the African species. Only some male Asian elephants have tusks, while both male and female African elephants grow tusks. The social life of many elephants revolves around herds and small groups. An elephant herd consists mostly of closely related female cows and their calves, which are led by a single matriarch who helps the entire group find food and water, avoid predators, and locate a shelter. The oldest daughter is almost always poised to inherit the matriarchal position upon the mother's death. A typical herd consists of around 10 individuals. If the herd grows too large, then some elephants may split off and form a new semi-independent group. The male bulls, on the other hand, either wander alone or form bachelor groups within specific dominance hierarchies. The males are much more likely to gather together during times of scarcity or in the presence of threats. They only come into contact with females when they want to mate. Elephants have all manner of ways to communicate with each other. The trunk seems to play a critical part in this. A raised trunk seems to indicate a greeting. A lower-ranking member of the herd will also place its tip into the mouth of a higher-ranked individual, perhaps as a conciliatory gesture. Despite the iconic trumpeting sounds, many of the noises produced by the elephant to communicate over long distances are actually too low for the human ear to detect. They also produce a growling noise from the stomach that seems to signify to others they are okay. Depending on the availability of food, the elephant may spend up to 18 hours a day feeding. The rest of the time is occupied by sleeping, bathing, cleaning itself, and bonding with the rest of the group. Playing and fighting are integral parts of their behavior. They tend to spar playfully with other elephants close to their own age. The elephant inhabits the savannas, deserts, marshes, and forests near rivers of sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. The Indian, Sumatran, Borneo, and Sri Lankan elephants are generally corresponded to those particular geographical regions, but this range is actually reduced from its greatest historical extent. The Asian elephant, for example, once had a much larger range stretching between Syria and China. The African forest elephant is now reduced to a small piece of land in the Congo Basin of Western Africa. The elephant is a herbivorous mammal whose only source of nutrients is vegetation. It needs an enormous amount of food to sustain itself. A typical individual consumes up to 330 pounds of food in a single day, although up to half of this may pass through the body without being properly digested. Elephants will eat almost any type of vegetation, including grasses, leaves, fruits, twigs, roots, and bark. The exact composition of its diet tend to vary based on location and season. Herbivores generally have two different strategies for obtaining food: browsing, in which they selectively feed on shrubs and trees above the ground, and grazing, in which they lightly feed on vegetation along the ground. Many elephants are both browsers in the dry season and grazers in the wet season. Aside from natural predators, the animal is under threat from poaching due to the value of their tusks, habitat loss, and growing conflict with people. Some of these threats are amplifying each other. As the animal's natural habitat diminishes from the spread of agriculture and residential housing, it comes into contact with people, which can result in trampled crops and damaged properties. This, in turn, may cause people to retaliate against them. A full-grown adult elephant faces no consistent threats in the wild. Its massive size and thick hide make it almost impervious to attacks. However, a juvenile calf may be vulnerable to hyenas, lions, tigers, leopards, and African wild dogs, so it seeks protection from the group. As everybody knows, elephants are extremely strong animals and have amazing qualities, but can they cope in North America? Any ecosystem on Earth can be found in North America, from the snowy tundras of Greenland to the tropics of Costa Rica. Deserts, forests, mountains, and everything in between occupy this territory along the wide variety of animals you'd expect to find. North America has a diverse array of wildlife species and is home to an estimated 457 mammals, 914 birds, 662 reptiles, and more than 300 amphibians, and 4,000 known arachnids. North America includes the United States, Canada, Mexico, and Greenland, each laden with diverse ecological systems that sustain these unique animal species. There are no elephants in North America now. However, 5 species of Proboscidea, the order in which elephants belong, roamed the lands of North America 13,000 years ago, which also included mammoths, dwarf mammoths, and mastodons. Skeletons of these gigantic creatures have been excavated in large numbers from various sites in regions like Naco, Arizona, and New York State. There have been several theories and speculations about the extinction of elephants from North America. One of them is the overkill hypothesis. The Clovis people, or the Paleo-Indians, were the first humans to arrive in North America in the late Pleistocene epoch around 13,000 years ago, which, as one may notice, is the same period when the elephants vanished, resulted in large-scale hunting of these creatures for food and skin, which eventually led to severe dwindling in their populations, termed as megafaunal crisis. Finally, after having coexisted for about a millennium with humans, the beasts lost the battle and became extinct. While the overkill hypothesis is the most credible theory, some archaeologists argue that even though the final blow to the species was dealt by humans, their population was already falling down by the time they had arrived. They claim the abrupt fluctuation in climate, a 1,300-year-long cold snap that took place around the time, as the most important reason behind their extinction. Asian elephants would probably thrive on the Gulf Coast. Florida, with its tropical climate and jungle-like habitats, would be an elephant paradise. The Everglades are a perfect place for these animals. The dense vegetation would be more than enough to support them. Asian elephants are also great swimmers, are no strangers to swampy terrain, and are perfectly suited to surviving floods. They are also known for island hopping and reaching new territories in search of food. The Caribbean might just get invaded by these animals as well, just like how Indonesia and Thailand were in their native habitat. African forest elephants fill a similar niche to Asian elephants, so they would probably also like the Gulf Coast, because they also like warm tropical forests. They would prefer drier parts of the region though. They aren't as fond of swimming as their Asian relatives. African bush elephants would prefer southern US states and Mexico. Any place which doesn't experience snowfall and isn't an outright desert would make a suitable bush elephant habitat. They are well adapted to surviving droughts and heat and would probably have no problem adapting to the North American continent. Due to their size, they won't worry about predators unless you focus on the calves, which they have to worry about wolves, bears, and possibly mountain lions. Today's lions mostly live in Africa, with a small population restricted to Gir National Park, India. However, they once roamed further afield. The Eurasian lion prowled mainland Europe and Asia 780,000 years ago until its extinction 10,000 years ago. North America had its own lion, aptly named the American lion or cave lion. Some scientists believe this lion evolved from the Eurasian lions that crossed over from Eurasia via the Bering Land Bridge into North America. These first lions that established themselves in North America eventually gave rise to the American lions, and then South America's jaguar. Although the American lion successfully inhabited North America for thousands of years, the continent during the Pleistocene was very different from today. Not only that, but the American lion was a different species from today's African and Asian lions. Just because this prehistoric lion thrived in North America doesn't mean that modern lions would do the same. Here, we look at this possibility and ask the question, could lions survive in North America? In order to answer this question, we need to take into consideration North America's climate, habitat, prey, and competition. If we first look at North America's climate and compare it to that of sub-Saharan Africa, we can find out whether African lions could survive America's climatic conditions. All of Africa's lions inhabit sub-Saharan Africa. The climate in the central and southern regions include tropical savannas, with some arid and temperate climates. Tanzania is home to the greatest population of lions in Africa. Its climate has wide and varied temperatures, from 10 to 20 degrees Celsius, or 50 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit in the highlands, to 31 degrees Celsius, or 88 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer months across the rest of the country. In South Africa's Kruger National Park, temperatures typically range from 16 to 27 degrees Celsius, or 61 to 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Here, there are some 1,600 lions spread across the 7,500 square mile parks. And in Botswana's Chobe National Park, which also has a significant population of lions, the average annual temperatures range from 9 degrees Celsius to 36 degrees Celsius, or 48 to 97 degrees Fahrenheit. Lions are able to thrive in a variety of climates with variable temperatures. In America, the hottest states include Florida, Hawaii, and Louisiana, whilst Alaska has some of the coldest winters around. The southern states have temperature ranges that are more similar to those found where lions naturally live. Areas of California and Arizona are also relatively mild all year round. Broadly speaking, climate doesn't seem to solely determine where lions live. There are plenty of African countries that have hotter and wetter climates than others, and each of these has lions. With the huge variety of climates across the United States, we believe there are plenty of states that lions could survive in, if we just considered climatic conditions. If we now look at habitat, we can see if America offers the space and wilderness that lions require. A pride of lions can maintain a territory from anything as small as 8 square miles to a whopping 150 square miles. Lions are the only cats to live in groups or prides. These can consist as many as 40 individuals. They occupy a range of habitats except for tropical rainforests. Instead, they prefer grassland, savanna, dense scrub, and open woodland. These habitats where their prey is most abundant and allows them to hunt them using their speed and agility. The grasslands of America's Great Plains could provide the open habitat that lions are used to, but the climate is known for being very cold and harsh in the winter months. These habitats, of course, need to provide an abundance of prey species for lions to hunt. This leads to the prey species that might be available to lions if they lived in North America. Lions are strict carnivores. They are highly adapted to take down medium to large prey. Their sharp canines and claws, coupled with a bite force of 650 psi, make them formidable predators. They have incredibly rough tongues which help them to peel back their prey's skin to get to the flesh underneath. They also function socially, hunting collaboratively as a group, making kills quicker and easier, and enabling them to take down sizable prey. In Africa, their typical prey consists of zebra, wildebeest, antelope, buffalo, giraffe, and wild hogs. In Asia, the lions hunt wild boars, buffalo, antelope, and deer. As Florida seems to have the climate and habitat to enable lions to survive in North America, we will focus on this state when considering prey species. The only deer truly native to Florida is the white-tailed deer. Their numbers were dwindling during the 1930s, but successful management of their population has now resulted in over 700,000 statewide. Other introduced species include red deer, sambar deer, and key deer. However, the numbers of these deers are less than 1,000 individuals for each species, probably not providing enough for lions to prey on. Florida is also home to 12% of America's wild boars. This amounts to huge numbers of them in Florida. It is thought that the damage inflicted on farmland and the native flora and fauna is caused by a population of 500,000 wild boar. In Africa, the wild boar's equivalent is the warthog. These hairy pigs make up a significant portion of the lion's food and are particularly hunted during the dry season, when other prey species are scarce. Florida's Payne's Prairie Preserve is also home to a handful of bison, not enough to sustain any lions. However, if there were still the large herds that once roamed North America, this could provide the right sort of prey a pride of lions would need to survive. When we consider prey, it looks as if there might not be enough to sustain the hungry prides of lions, where there are larger numbers of ungulates, like the bison that roam Yellowstone National Park. The climate isn't favorable for these big cats all year round. Wild boar may end up being the lion's primary prey if lions were introduced to Florida. But would this be sustainable? If lions had survived in North America from the beginning of the Holocene and become established apex predators, it is possible they would have adapted to the seasonal changes. This could either be through migrating to warmer climates during winter or developing behaviors to cope with the cold. This could include partial or full hibernation, a behavior exhibited by some of America's apex predators, the black and brown bears. They may follow food sources, switching from one prey species in the summer to another in the winter, when they head to warmer states. However, movement around a huge, vastly populated country would not be feasible unless wildlife corridors were built. Finally, let's consider the competition that lions might face in North America. In Africa, lions live in the same habitat as other carnivorous predators. Leopards, cheetahs, and hyenas all live side by side with lions. Whilst they try to avoid each other as much as possible, their territories inevitably overlap. But in Africa's great reserves, there is enough space to allow the coexistence of these species. There is enough prey to go around. The climate is favorable for each of these groups of animals, and they largely survive without too much conflict. In America, bears, wolves, coyotes, and mountain lions could compete for food with lions. These species all hunt and catch similar prey. They are well adapted to North America and are established species. Introduced lions may struggle to compete with America's predators for food and territory. Lions have the advantage of being able to hunt in groups. They could tackle some of America's larger ungulates, like red deer that weigh 240 kilograms or 530 pounds, as well as the 1,200 kilogram or 2,600 pound bison. Brown bears also hunt large animals including moose. There would likely be competition for the availability of prey. As apex predators, lions play a crucial role in the ecosystem. By controlling the number of herbivores, they consequently manage the grasslands and vegetation. This has impacts right through the food chain, right down to the smallest invertebrates. If lions were to suddenly inhabit North America, their impact would be felt all the way across the ecosystem, unbalancing the fragile existence of those species already found there. If their ancestors had made America their home thousands of years ago, then it is likely other species that are endemic to and characteristic of North America simply wouldn't exist today. We conclude that it may be possible for lions to call North America their home, but probably not if they were introduced there suddenly. If they had time to adapt their behavior and physical characteristics over thousands of years, then maybe they could survive in North America today. But there is a reason that the prehistoric American lion became extinct. There is a reason that today's lions are only found in Africa and a small part of India. Spotted hyenas are the largest and most common hyena species in Africa. They have a sturdy build, long neck, high shoulders, and long muscular legs, with the forelegs longer than hind legs. and 4 toes on each foot with non-retractable claws. The head is massive, with rounded ears and robust teeth adapted for chewing bones. The coat is rough, comparatively short, and ranges in color from reddish-brown to tan, growing lighter and less spotted with age. Spots are black and rounded. The tail tip, muzzle, and lower parts of limbs are dark brown. The jaws are probably the strongest compared to the size of any mammal, helping hyenas to utilize virtually everything on a carcass except the rumen contents and horn bosses. Spotted hyenas can weigh up to 70 kilograms, but average between 45 and 55 kilograms, with the females being slightly larger than the males. They are, on average, 90 to 170 centimeters long, with a height of 70 to 92 centimeters. Spotted hyenas are the most abundant large carnivore in Africa. Originally distributed nearly all over Africa and Eurasia, they now only occur in sub-Saharan Africa, and their distribution is fragmented. In many countries, large populations still exist in protected areas. The highest densities occur in the Serengeti Mara ecosystem in northern Tanzania and southern Kenya. They can survive in a variety of habitats, but like to live where there are lots of zebras and antelopes. This includes grasslands, savannas, woodlands, and sometimes even the mountains. Spotted hyenas are carnivores. They eat other animals of all types. They either hunt on their own or scavenge the kills of other larger animals like lions. They are particularly good scavengers because they can crush bones with their powerful jaws and can eat and digest them. When they hunt, they typically hunt wildebeests, gazelles, and zebras. However, they also will hunt snakes, young hippos, elephants, and even fish. Renowned for their exceptional sense of smell, hyenas also have very acute hearing, along with a high level of intelligence. These enable the hyena to have an almost unrivaled ability to detect, pinpoint, and rapidly locate a source of food. This could be as a result of hearing distress calls or urgent alarm calls, where another predator might be busy killing something, smelling a carcass from far away, seeing vultures descending, or sometimes just having that elusive sixth sense, which leads them to a meal. Once hyenas detect some drama that could be unfolding, they have an incredible knack of getting there just in time to spoil someone else's party. Their speed sometimes leads them to where a leopard is busy strangling an impala before the leopard has had a chance to secure its prey. One of the most misunderstood animals, the spotted hyena has a reputation as being sly and cowardly, but is, in fact, fascinating and intelligent, with a remarkable social system. With a large frontal cortex, hyenas are excellent problem solvers, sometimes even outperforming great apes in problem-solving tests. Observations suggest they may plan hunts in advance. Their intelligence is likely due to their complex social system and flexible feeding habits. Spotted hyenas live in large groups, sometimes up to 90. Within these groups, females are dominant. Even the lowest-ranking female is dominant to the highest-ranking male. Dominance hierarchies are passed from mothers to daughters and are maintained through cooperative alliances between individuals. Spotted hyenas live in a fission-fusion society. This means clan members do not remain together continuously, but instead frequently forage alone or in small groups. Clan members cooperate in the communal defense of the territory, food resources, and the clan den. All females in a spotted hyena clan bring their cubs to one large den site and raise their babies until they are old enough to travel with their mothers. Spotted hyenas is one of the top predators in Africa. However, several species may kill them. In one study, 13 of 24 hyena carcasses found were killed by lions. Hyenas and lions compete directly for food and often scavenge each other's kills. This competition often leads to antagonistic encounters that may result in death. In addition, humans often kill hyenas in numerous ways. In an increasing overpopulated Africa, hyenas and humans come into frequent contact. In fact, the Maasai people of Kenya and Tanzania actually leave their dead to be consumed by hyenas. However, these intelligent and bold animals will raid food stores and crops and are blamed for many livestock and even some human deaths. In some areas, they have been heavily hunted as destructive pests. As you can see, spotted hyenas are great hunters and have amazing qualities. But can they cope in North America? Mexico, the United States, and Canada may be the largest and most prominent countries in North America, but this continent, the third largest in the world, is home to 23 sovereign states and 23 non-sovereign states that stretch all the way from Central America up through Greenland. The sheer scope of the continent means that practically any ecosystem on Earth can be found in North America. From the snowy tundras of Greenland to the tropics of Costa Rica, deserts, forests, mountains, and everything in between occupy this territory along with the rich variety of animals you'd expect to find. During prehistoric times, the Ice Age, which was known to be an uprising of many awesome predators, including the cave hyena or the Ice Age spotted hyena. It was a highly specialized animal, with its progressive and regressive features being more developed than its modern African relative, which means the cave hyena indeed adapted very well to survive in the coldest environment. But after some time, possibly due to climate change, the species went extinct. Spotted hyenas are found in a large variety of habitats south of the Sahara and outside the Congo. They can live in varying climates, including very cold ones, as long as there are enough prey animals to sustain them. All of the current hyena subspecies, including the spotted and striped ones, are furry mammals. As such, they possess fur that does a perfect job in shielding their bodies from the icy cold. The fact that hyenas once lived in Europe, covering areas from Spain and Portugal to the Ural Mountains, confirms it. This was at a time when megafauna like mastodons, mammoths, and giant sloths was on the scene. However, mass extinction of the megafauna took place right at the end of the Pleistocene age, about 12,000 years ago. And scientists think that the loss of these animals along with climate change and the arrival of humans from Africa caused the hyenas to become extinct in Europe. Hyenas can easily hunt a large variety of prey items, ranging from deer to possibly pronghorn to elk, mustangs, and even moose and bison. Due to their size, powerfully built bodies, and social behavior, they can take on the larger native predators. Bears may be the only native animal that can take on a pack of hyenas, but they may be overwhelmed by them. Mountain lions would only be able to take on a single hyena, but a pack would destroy any mountain lion, and wolves would be outcompeted by hyenas as they are bolder, bigger, and have a more devastating bite. However, you cannot take a species from an entirely different continent and climate and expect it to thrive. Very few species can survive in novel environments without human help. The rare exceptions become invasive species because they have a competitive advantage over the native species of the area. In the wild, speed is crucial for survival, but speed is not a problem for a cheetah, which is the fastest land animal in the world. Globally, cheetahs are famed for their running prowess and strength. Aside from their speed, there are more admirable facts that you should know about this big wild cat. The cheetah is an animal that has a long and slender body that is covered in coarse yellowish fur and dotted with small black spots. Its long tail helps with balance and changing direction quickly, and unlike the rest of the cheetah's body, there are ringed markings along the tail, which ends in a black tip. Cheetahs have small heads with high-set eyes that aid them when surveying the surrounding grasslands for potential prey. They also have distinctive black tear marks that run from the inner eye, along with their nose and down to the outside of their mouths, which are thought to help protect them from being blinded by the bright sun. The exceptional speed of the cheetah is caused by several things, including having strong hind legs and an incredibly flexible and muscular spine, which allows the cheetah to not only sprint quickly, but also makes them very agile. They also have non-retractable claws which dig into the ground, giving the cheetah a better grip at high speed. Body lengths of cheetahs range from 1.1 to 1.5 meters, or 3.9 to 4.9 feet, and the height at the shoulder ranges from 67 to 94 centimeters, or 2.2 to 3.1 feet. Their weights average from 21 to 72 kilograms, or 46 to 158 pounds, with the average male larger than the average female. The cheetah is an animal that once had a vast historical range that stretched across several continents, but their distribution today is much more scattered, with a small number found in Iran and the majority found in sub-Saharan Africa. Although cheetahs are still found in a few different parts of eastern and southern Africa, the highest population of wild cheetahs is now found in Namibia in southwestern Africa. Cheetahs are most commonly found stalking prey on the vast, open grasslands, but they are also found in a variety of other habitats as well, including deserts, dense vegetation, and mountainous terrain, providing that there are both adequate supplies of food and water. Cheetahs have a unique social order among felids. Adult females are solitary, while adult males are not. Adult females interact with adult males only long enough to breed, and females raise their cubs on their own. At 18 months, the mother leaves the cubs, who then form a sibling group that stays together for another 6 months. At about 2 years, the female siblings leave the group and become solitary, while the young males remain together for life in a group called a coalition. A coalition is usually made up of 2 to 3 litter mates and is a very tightly bonded group. Singleton males are not common and usually do not survive long. This coalition will live and hunt together for life, claiming a territory, which may encompass several female home ranges. The cheetah has exceptional eyesight, and so hunts using sight by first stalking its prey and then chasing it when the time is right. Cheetahs often kill their prey in vast open spaces, but tend to drag it into a hiding place to prevent it from being scavenged by other animals. The cheetah has to do this, as it cannot eat its prey straight away since they are immensely hot after the chase and need time to cool down before it can feast. Cheetahs are carnivorous animals, meaning that they only hunt and kill other animals to get the nutrition they need to survive. They mainly hunt large herbivores, including gazelle, and some large antelope species such as wildebeest, along with zebras and smaller mammals like hares. The exact diet of the cheetah, though, tends to depend on its location. The adult cheetah is a dominant predator in its environment and is therefore not seen as prey by other large predators. The cheetah cubs, however, are incredibly vulnerable, particularly when their mother is off hunting, and are preyed upon by some animals including lions and hyenas, but also large avian species such as eagles and vultures. The biggest threat to cheetahs is people, who have not only taken vast areas of their natural habitat for themselves, but have also turned large regions of land into national parks. Although these areas seem to be showing increases in both lion and hyena populations, cheetah numbers are much lower as there is more competition for food with the increasing numbers of these other large predators. Today, the cheetah has been listed by the IUCN as a species that is vulnerable to extinction in its natural environment in the near future. Habitat loss, along with the increase of national parks that are home to a large number of competing predators, has led to drastic declines in the world's cheetah population. As you can see, cheetahs are strong cats and have amazing qualities, but can they cope in North America? There are 6 species of wild cats native to North America: bobcat, cougar, Canada lynx, ocelot, jaguarundi, and jaguar. Of all of those cats, the cougar is the most prolific and lives from Canada all of the way through Argentina. Cougars can be found in a wide range of habitats, including deserts, savannas, tropical rainforests, and alpine steppes. Both molecular and morphologic studies suggest that the cougar's origin dates to 5 to 8 million years ago, when their ancestors diverged from the cheetah's ancestors. After a time in which the American cheetah, which, despite its name, was actually a cougar and was nowhere near related to modern cheetahs, thrived, roamed the wilderness without being surpassed, and hunted pronghorns with relative ease. It suddenly went extinct around 10,000 years ago, and its extinction coincided with that of numerous North American mammals, including mammoths, saber-toothed cats, cave lions, and woolly rhinos. It is believed that there are two culprits behind the species extinction. The first was the changing climate that occurred by the end of the Ice Age and warmed the Earth up, thus decimating the megafauna that couldn't stand the heat, while the other was the depletion of prey populations, which in turn led to a heavy decline in American cheetah populations, an event that lowered genetic variability and gave way to a population bottleneck. Some scientists believe that there was probably a combination of both factors that induced the American cheetah's eradication. There's no question that a cheetah could hunt successfully in North America. Most deer are not as agile as an average gazelle, which is the edge a gazelle has in a chase. The cheetah has incredible speed, but it lacks the ability to change directions as quickly as a gazelle. The white-tailed deers, for example, are pretty bulky, but they can't change direction very well. Of course, cheetahs are only able to survive in open areas. They're not suited to living in forests. This means that the southern United States is almost ideal for them. There are plenty of large open plains they can live in, and they provide the prey they can hunt, such as deer and pronghorn. The only problem would be the local predators. Wolves, bears, mountain lions, and even coyotes can pose a serious threat to cheetahs. While cheetahs can probably take on a single coyote at most, the other animals would make things very difficult. The only counters for this one problem are that they would most often hunt what the local predators often give up on, and most of these predators are nocturnal, while the cheetah is diurnal. Plus, bears aren't going to be that frequent in desert environments, so they don't have to worry too much. However, you cannot take a species from an entirely different continent and climate and expect it to thrive. Very few species can survive in novel environments without human help. The rare exceptions become invasive species because they have a competitive advantage over the native species of the area. The rhino. These mammals are most famous for their characteristic horn, or horns. Their thick, armor-like skin, and their huge, stocky build. Today, there are 5 species of rhino. These are the white and black rhinos found in Africa. The Indian rhino is found in India and Nepal, with 1 pair in Pakistan. The tiny population of just 60 Javan rhinos is restricted entirely to Ujung Kulon National Park in Java. And the Sumatran rhino, whose population numbers less than 300 in Sumatra and Borneo. No wild rhinos currently live in North America, but this wasn't always the case. In fact, it is thought that today's rhinos living in Africa and Asia had a common ancestor in America. Scientists believe that rhinos originated in North America before spreading across Eurasia and then into Africa. In America, the lineage of mammals that eventually evolved into rhinos had a common ancestor with today's tapirs. The name of this common ancestor was Hyraceus. It was a hornless mammal with the hooves of a tapir and teeth of a rhino. It was about the size of a large dog. They lived across North America and Eurasia during the Eocene. Then, approximately 60 million years ago, the superfamily Rhinocerotidae diverged from tapirs, and scientists believe this divergence occurred in either Eurasia or North America. If it was in North America, then that is where the rhino lineage began. From this superfamily of rhino-like mammals, more than 100 species evolved and radiated across Africa, Eurasia, and North and Central America. Most of these species became extinct before the Pleistocene, more than 2.5 million years ago. 9 species survived into the late Pleistocene, and some beyond. Between the many species of prehistoric rhinos, there were significant differences in physical characteristics. Many of the ancient rhinos were actually hornless, and interestingly, there was one rhino native to North America, Menoceros, with 2 horns arranged side by side at the tip of its nose, rather than one in front of the other. The Rhinocerotidae was divided into 3 family groups, which included the Hyracodontidea, Emenodontinae, and Rhinocerotidae. The Hyracodontidi were horse-like animals that ranged in size from that of a dog to one of the largest mammals ever to have walked the earth. This giant, hornless rhinoceros was called Paraceratherium and stood at almost 5 meters or 16 feet tall at the shoulder. Its fossils have mostly been found across Eurasia, so this particular rhino-like animal was unlikely to have stepped foot on North American soil. The two other families included in the superfamily are the hippo-like Amenodontidae and Rhinocerotidae, from which all modern-day rhinos evolved. Fossils from these two families have been found across Eurasia and North America. Fossils of Amenodontidae have been found in Eastern Asia, Central Europe, and North America. Some members of this family were hippo-like in appearance and lived a semi-aquatic lifestyle, while others were mostly land-based, with a taper-like proboscis and small tusks which they used as a defense against predators and rivals. Within Rhinocerotidae, there were at least 26 different genera that inhabited Eurasia and North America. The ancestors of today's rhinos were some of the most widespread mammal groups in North America. They existed there for almost 40 million years. If we focus on just a couple of prehistoric rhinos, we can understand why they became extinct from North America. Two common genera roaming from Africa's Great Plains were the Teleoceras and Ephelops. These animals lived on the continent 17.5 to 5 million years ago. They were the last known genera of Rhinocerotidae to inhabit North America. Once they became extinct, there is no fossil evidence of Rhinocerotidae found in America. Teleoceras rhinos were similar in size and shape to modern-day hippos, but lived on land. They grazed grasses and brush on the open plains. They had a small horn on the top of their nose and shorter legs than today's rhinos. Their fossils are commonly found throughout the Great Plains, and from these, scientists have had a glimpse into the social structure and behavior of these rhinos. The groups were predominantly female, with males dying at much younger ages. This was due to battles for mates and injuries that occurred from clashes. It is thought that they used their horn and tusk-like teeth to fight. Today, rhinos also fight in this way, inflicting injuries on rival males. The Ephelops was another rhino that also coexisted with Teleoceras in North America. From fossilized dentition and skull morphology, it has been assumed that they were more browsers rather than grazers. They had a prehensile upper lip, similar to today's black rhinos. This enabled them to pick up leaves from trees and shrubs rather than graze on grasses. They had longer limbs than other prehistoric rhinos, suggesting that it was good at running. It is often referred to as the running rhino. It is thought that they lived in herds, probably as a means of protection from predators, like many prey species today. So why did these two genera of prehistoric rhinos become extinct in North America? What happened to them? The answer lies in the food they ate. As the climate naturally changed, so too did the vegetation. These prehistoric rhinos grazed C3 plants. These were the predominant plant species found in North America at the time. The name C3 refers to the 3 carbon compounds produced during carbon fixation. This is a way in which plants utilize carbon to create energy in the form of carbohydrates. Even today, C3 plants are very common. They are most efficient in cool, wet climates. When the climate began to cool and precipitation reduced, the Earth became drier. This happened approximately 17 to 14 million years ago during the mid-Miocene. These changes in environmental conditions resulted in a significant shift in the flora. C3 plants gave way to more advanced C4 plants. This flora was able to thrive on less rainfall and, even today, is less common, but still dominates grasslands where there is little rainfall. By 6.5 million years ago, these plants had expanded across the Great Plains. The herbivores that couldn't adapt to a change in their diet struggled to survive as the plant communities and vegetation structure altered. However, the two rhinoceros genera Teleoceras and Ephelops initially survived this ecological pressure. They were able to adapt their feeding behaviors and incorporate more C4 vegetation into their diets. Although their numbers declined to about 60% of previous populations, they slowly recovered. But 5 million years ago, their numbers declined once more. This time, they were unable to recover and did not survive. Whilst rhinos became extinct in North America, their relatives continued to live throughout Eurasia and Africa. 16 million years ago, the two African species split from the Asian rhinos. It is likely that they traveled down from Eurasia and settled in Africa. The Eurasian lineage gave rise to the Asian rhinos, which included extinct species like Merck's rhinoceros, as well as the more famous woolly rhinoceros. Interestingly, today's Sumatran rhino is the most closely related extant species to the woolly rhino. They diverged from a common ancestor 9.4 million years ago. The woolly rhinoceros was adapted to live in the cold, with its long, shaggy fur, a trait that the Sumatran rhino has partly shared, as it has a thin layer of fur covering its body. Over the millennia, there have been wide and varied members of the rhino family. They have ranged from the size of a dog to a colossal giant standing 16 feet tall. Some have one horn, others have two, and some have none. But their evolutionary journey may yet be over. Researchers from Cambridge University have measured the horns of all 5 extant species from photographs taken over the last 100 years. In all 5 species, there is a significant reduction in their horn sizes over the past century. The team believes this physical change in rhino horn is due to excessive poaching. Those with the largest horns are huge targets for poachers. Rhino horns fetch a huge price on the black market and are still used in traditional medicine in China and Vietnam. The smaller horned rhinos that aren't hunted therefore survive and pass their small horn genes down to the next generation. From some of the most abundant species on the planet to some of the most critically endangered, rhinos have had an interesting and varied evolutionary history. And it would be incredible if we could keep these fascinating animals alive for future generations to enjoy. The honey badger, Mellivora capensis, is a mustelid that is native to Africa, Southwest Asia, and India. It more closely resembles a weasel rather than a badger, but is black, white, and gray. It has a long body, a broad back, a short snout, and flat head. It has a reputation for being aggressive and bad-tempered, and has been known to scare away the likes of hyenas and lions. They have very powerful front paws with long claws that they use for digging their prey out from underground. Here, we asked the question, could honey badgers survive in North America? If we look back to the earliest honey badgers, or what were thought to be some of their earliest relatives, fossil evidence suggests they did once live in North America. Today's honey badgers are similar to America's skunks with their distinctive black and white coloration and a gland able to deliver a stink bomb if they feel threatened. So, where do they live? Let's first look at their geographical range and whether this bears any resemblance to North America. Modern-day honey badgers evolved in Asia during the Pliocene, between 5 and 3 million years ago. They are now found throughout the whole of sub-Saharan Africa, as well as Algeria and Morocco. Their range extends through Arabia and Iran, and into India. Their extinct ancestors lived 7 million years ago during the late Miocene. One such ancestor was called Benfield's honey badger. Although this species was similar to today's honey badgers, it was slightly smaller and was less of a digger. It possibly behaved more like dwarf mongooses, who can dig burrows, but prefer to use those already made by other animals. As the honey badger lineage evolved, they became more expert diggers, relying on their sharp claws to break open beehives and dig up a range of other animals that live underground. Traveling even further back in time to around 10 million years ago, and it is thought that some of the honey badger's ancestors lived in North America, as well as Eurasia and Africa. These two genera were called Mellivora and Equus, and were nicknamed the giant honey badgers for their large size. Fossil evidence suggests that these honey badgers stood 2 feet, or 60 centimeters tall at the shoulder. They had usually long legs, and were capable of running at great speed in pursuit of their prey. Over the years, the only extant species of honey badger became the animal it is today. Well adapted to its environment, and listed as least concern by IUCN. It is a successful and widespread animal. So, would North America's climate be suitable for honey badgers? Would there be enough habitat to sustain a population of this ferocious omnivore? Most of the honey badger's habitat is in hot, dry regions. They rely on digging in the dry soil, making tunnels 9 feet long and 5 feet deep, with chambers at the end for them to rest and remain cool in. Females will line this chamber with grass, forming a soft bed for her to deliver her cub. They are highly adaptable animals. Although they prefer dry land, they can also be found in woodland and open grasslands. They will create homes in rock crevices, under tree roots, or use burrows dug by other animals. North America has such a wide range of climates offering a huge variety of temperatures, some of which are comparable to sub-Saharan Africa. Central and southeastern regions are broadly subtropical, the northeast humid continental, and towards the northwest a mixture of Mediterranean, arid desert, and even subarctic climates. Honey badgers that thrive in sub-Saharan Africa live in tropical, desert, temperate, and arid climates which can be found throughout North America. The male honey badger's home range is around 200 square miles, whilst the female tends to remain within 50 square miles of its burrow. North America's native badgers usually have a home range of just 1 square mile, and so introducing this foreign species would mean that they would need much larger areas to live in. The Great Basin Desert, the Mojave, and the Sonoran are just a few of the deserts found in North America that could be considered suitable for honey badgers. They are rarely observed drinking water from watering holes. Instead, it seems they get most of their water needs from the food they eat, which means that they can survive well in desert environments. The Gulf and South Atlantic states in America have a humid subtropical climate. Northern Arizona, New Mexico, central and northern Nevada, and Utah have a temperate semi-desert to desert climate. The Southern Plains, lower Midwest, and central East Coast have a humid temperate climate. These are just some of the places that would provide the climate and habitat that honey badgers are used to in their current geographical range. But would these habitats provide the right kind of food for honey badgers? Honey badgers eat pretty much everything and anything. In fact, a study in the Kalahari found that they consumed 60 different species of prey. They have the least specialized diet of the weasel family. They are omnivores, feeding on insects, frogs, tortoises, turtles, lizards, rodents, snakes, birds, and eggs. They are excellent tree climbers and adept at swimming as well. They locate their prey using their excellent sense of smell. They walk along, sniffing the ground and pausing at burrows and holes along the way. They then use their long, sharp claws to dig out animals from their burrows underground. They also raid beehives, eating the larvae and lapping up the honey. They have incredibly tough skin to protect them from their prey, including bee stings. They're also known to scavenge lion kills, scaring away lions before having their fill. They are said to be so tough and fierce that they can kill and eat black mambas, one of the world's most venomous snakes. They also feed on 3-meter-long pythons, cobras, and highly venomous adders without any problems. Their success as a species is probably partially attributed to their ability to eat and survive on such a wide range of food. It makes them adaptable and less susceptible to food shortages, competition with other animals, or the effects of climate change. In North America, there would be a huge variety of animals on which they could feed, both in the deserts and in the open grasslands. Small mammals such as jackrabbits, kit foxes, and a variety of rodents are found in the Mojave Desert, as well as reptiles such as tortoises and rattlesnakes, and Great Basin collared lizards. The swift fox, prairie chicken, and bobwhite quail are common in the Southwest Plains and could be considered prey for the honey badger. In terms of diet, we believe that the honey badger would thrive throughout the United States. It can eat such a wide variety of food that it would be unlikely to struggle in any of America's wildernesses. Of course, its ferocious appetite may affect the delicate ecosystem in which it would occupy. They are known to cover distances of more than 40 kilometers in a single night and dig up to 50 holes over a 24-hour period. Although honey badgers have a wide geographical range and are not considered rare. Their population numbers are declining. They are persecuted, particularly by landowners. They pose a threat to livestock, sometimes ripping wooden planks off hen houses or digging through concrete floors to reach the chickens inside. It is very difficult for dogs to kill them, as their skin is incredibly tough and very loose, allowing the badger to wriggle free and squirm its way out of the jaws of a potential predator. Poisoning is typically the way that people kill honey badgers that kill their livestock. In some parts of India, they are even known to dig up human corpses to feed on the remains. In Kenya, the badgers are considered a major reservoir of rabies and are therefore considered a dangerous species for people and domestic animals. We believe that honey badgers would survive and probably thrive in parts of North America. There would be the climate and habitat that they are used to in Africa available in the States. There would also be plenty of food available for them. They may come into competition with other species for their food sources. But with such a wide and varied diet, this is unlikely to affect the honey badgers. Of course, introducing such a successful species onto an entirely new continent could wreak havoc on the ecosystem already there. Zebras are one of Africa's most iconic animals. They belong to the genus Equus, a genus they share with modern-day horses and asses. It seems the Equus genus originated in North America, became extinct millions of years later there, and then returned to the continent, along with migrating humans. It is a genus that came full circle. Whilst there are both domestic and wild horses in the US, there are not any zebras. Firstly, let's look at the evolutionary history of the zebra to determine whether it could survive in North America. The very first equid known to scientists was the Eohippus, or the dawn horse. From examining its fossils, we can tell that it was very different from today's horses and zebras. In fact, they shared very few similarities. It stood at just 45 centimeters, or 18 inches tall, and its feet were padded and multi-hooved. From examining its teeth, we know that they were used more for browsing than grazing, unlike modern zebras. But paleontologists discovered that this diminutive creature walking the earth 50 million years ago gave rise to our horses, and the largest wild equid of them all, the zebra. Fast forward to the Middle Pliocene, around 3.7 million years ago, and a definite horse-like animal was a common sight across North America and Mexico. Its name was the Hagerman horse, or scientifically, Equus simplicidans. This primitive horse species thrived in the Americas, spreading southwards into South America. The Hagerman horse was known as the American zebra due to its zebra-like features. It had a stocky body, like that of a zebra, but with a short, narrow donkey-like skull. It was built for the open grasslands and floodplains found across America during the late Pliocene. Fossil records show that this species lived in herds like today's zebras and other wild horses. It seemed to thrive in North America and was excellent at migrating, a trait that remains true in today's zebras. During the Pleistocene, the Hagerman horse migrated from North America, across the Bering Land Bridge, and into Asia and Europe. From there, it entered Africa around 2.3 million years ago. This migration saved the genus from extinction. Those that remained in North America became extinct 10,000 years ago, during the mass extinction event that plagued North America. But those that had migrated from the continent spread across the world, evolving and giving rise to what we now know as the zebra. Of course, the most distinctive feature of zebras is their stripes. They are as unique as human fingerprints. No two are the same, but zebra stripes have caused debate amongst scientists for decades. Some have suggested that they confuse predators by breaking up the outline of the animal and making it harder to focus on a specific target. Individuals are more likely to blend in with the herd when they stand together, making it more difficult to separate individuals when preying on them. Others suggest that the black and white patterns aid in temperature regulation, creating convection currents across the body. The most likely explanation, however, seems to be that the stripes act as a defense mechanism against biting insects, particularly flies, which can cause disease. There are three species of extant zebra: the gravy zebra, the plain zebra, and the mountain zebra. Despite appearing numerous in TV documentaries and on safari, some species are considered endangered. There are fewer than 3,000 gravy zebras, less than 40,000 mountain zebras, and as many as 600,000 plain zebras left in the wild. They live in eastern and southern Africa in a range of habitats from grasslands and savannas to woodlands and mountains. Plain zebras are the most widespread throughout Africa. They are known to migrate more than 300 miles between Namibia and Botswana, following the rains and heading to lusher pastures. They feed mostly on grasses and sedges, as well as bark, leaves, buds, fruits, and roots. They play an important role in the grassland ecosystems, grazing down the less nutritious grasses, making way for the more specialist grazers. Although they are a prey species, often depicted as being hunted by lions or taken by crocodiles at the water's edge, zebras are incredibly tough animals. Gravy zebras can survive a week without water, enabling them to live in more arid climates than the other species. They can deliver a powerful kick to smaller predators and an aggressive bite. So, could they survive in North America? If we look at the habitat available to them, then it is relatively easy to imagine zebras in North America. Zebras are grazing animals, and in Africa, they live on the vast savannas and grasslands. Except for the gravy zebras, the others rely heavily on water and are often found within a few miles of a water supply. America's open grasslands, known as prairies, cover almost 4 million acres. They are mostly found on the edge of the Great Plains. Some of these could provide suitable habitat for zebras. However, due to their fertile soils and flat topography, a large percentage of them are farmed for crops. Of course, the Great Plains themselves stretch across a vast area, covering 2,000 miles north to south and 500 miles east to west. These are largely covered in grassland that is grazed by American bison and pronghorn. Although America's prairies might be largely cultivated land now, the Great Plains could provide enough grazing ground to support large herds of zebra. Their indiscriminate grazing is less likely to have an impact on the wildlife already abundant on the plains, as they don't seem to have a preference for one type of forage over another. Their presence could be felt by another species that also graze the open grasslands, such as elk, pronghorn antelope, and deer. So, whilst other species may be affected by the presence of zebras in parts of America, zebras may themselves thrive. But it's not just about the food availability and habitat on offer. The North American climate differs somewhat from Africa. On the plains, the weather can be stifling hot and humid in the summer, and bitterly cold and harsh in the winter. Zebras are found in zoos all over the world where they can survive in harsh climates, but then they usually have access to heated shelter in the coldest months. Captive zebras are also provided with food and do not have to graze in the harshest of winters. The climate across the Great Plains changes considerably because they cover such a huge area. The more northern reaches of the plains are affected by the cold, dry climate of central Canada, which travels into North America, whilst the southern plains receive warmer, moister air carried over from the Gulf of Mexico. In the coldest months during January and February, temperatures in some areas can dip as low as -40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius across the southern plains, to as low as 10 degrees Fahrenheit or -12 degrees Celsius across the Canadian prairies. While in the warmest months, July and August, temperatures can reach an average of 80 degrees Fahrenheit or 27 degrees Celsius through the southern plains, and approximately 66 degrees Fahrenheit or 19 degrees Celsius across the Canadian prairies. Although there would be plenty of food for zebras to graze in the northern ranges of the Great Plains, they would be unlikely to survive the coldest months. Even in the warmer states such as Texas, where the Great Plains cover the Panhandle, the center, and the west, temperatures in January can dip as low as 34 degrees Fahrenheit or 1 degree Celsius. Other warm states that could offer grasslands for zebras include Arizona, but there may not be enough rainfall for zebras to thrive. And even here, winter temperatures can dip below freezing. Zebras do not have a thicker winter coat that domestic and wild horses have, so they would struggle to keep warm. Today, there are wild horses that roam some of the U.S. These were brought over from Europe by the Spanish in the early 1500s. The few that escaped fled to the prairies and became wild. In the 19th century, their numbers were estimated at 2 million, but they were almost hunted to extinction until the late 1900s, when they became protected. Today, there are estimated to be around 36,000, half of which are in Nevada. Although these horses thrive in North America, they are well adapted to the colder climate. Their fur is longer and thicker than that of the zebra, allowing them to cope with the cold. In conclusion, we don't think that zebras could survive in North America due to the climate. There are plenty of places that offer ample food and habitat for them, but the dips in winter temperatures across the prairies and plains could prove fatal to Africa's indigenous horse. Gorillas are the largest of the great apes. They can weigh up to 270 kilograms, almost 600 pounds, and can stand on their hind legs up to 6 feet tall. We share 98.3% of our DNA with them, making them our closest living relatives after bonobos and chimpanzees. There are 2 species of gorilla, the western and the eastern gorilla, each of which is divided into 2 subspecies. They live in equatorial Africa, each species separated by about 560 miles of Congo Basin forest. Today, we ask the question, could gorillas survive in North America? All 4 subspecies of gorilla are listed as endangered or critically endangered by the IUCN. They are thought to be around 316,000 western lowland gorillas, 5,000 eastern lowland gorillas, and just 880 mountain gorillas left in the wild, with the destruction of habitat and threats from poaching leading to their demise. Perhaps considering other countries as a refuge for these magnificent animals could help to recover their populations. But does North America offer any habitat that gorillas would be able to survive in? Although their global distribution is very limited, gorillas live in a variety of habitats and occupy a range of elevations. Mountain gorillas live at altitudes that range from 2,200 to 4,300 meters, or 7,200 to 14,100 feet. They mostly live on the slopes of 3 dormant volcanoes along the Albertine Rift, inhabiting the montane cloud forests, which are misty and cold. The vegetation ranges from very dense lower down the slopes to sparsely covered higher up. The mountain gorillas move to the bamboo forests when the fresh shoots are available, into the giant senecio zone to eat the plant when flowering, and areas where gallium vines grow year-round. In contrast, the lowland gorilla lives in low-altitude dense tropical forests and lowland swamps and marshes. These habitats are considered vital for the western lowland gorilla, and the isolation of large swampy forests has helped to protect the species. The eastern lowland gorilla inhabits mountainous regions and lowland tropical forests. They can be found on peat bogs, swampland, primary forests, and moist woodland. Although the high altitudes of the mountain gorilla's habitat can be cold, they rely on the vegetation that stretches from the tropical rainforests up the mountainsides. The environment in which they live is important to their survival and is unique to the regions they inhabit. North America doesn't have this kind of climate. The most heavily forested regions of the mainland U.S. are Maine, New Hampshire, and West Virginia. These states are also mountainous or have extensive mountain ranges that could provide suitable habitats for gorillas and a range of vegetation for them to feed on. But the weather may not be suitable. The climate in New Hampshire and Maine is considered humid continental. The temperatures can dip below freezing in the winter, with significant snowfall on higher ground. Mountain gorillas in Virunga National Park live at high altitudes, and it can snow on some of the volcano peaks, but they are not adapted to the extreme cold. Mountain gorillas do have thicker fur than lowland gorillas, but would not cope in the prolonged winters of New England. In contrast, West Virginia has a humid subtropical climate, but is also considered one of the wettest states, with frequent precipitation in the form of rain or snow. Ski resorts in the mountainous regions are a testament to the cold winters despite the warm and mild summers. The average temperature in the lowlands of Virunga National Park, home of the mountain gorilla, varies between 23 degrees Celsius and 28 degrees Celsius, while in higher altitudes, it ranges between 16 degrees Celsius and 24 degrees Celsius. The climate on mainland North America, where habitat may be suitable, would not sustain a population of gorillas. Although there are hotter states, these are less likely to support the kind of vegetation that gorillas rely upon. The only tropical rainforest found in North America is El Yunque National Forest in Puerto Rico. As far as habitat goes, this could potentially provide a suitable environment for a population of lowland gorillas. Montane forests are patchy across the states. They form isolated islands of vegetation that would unlikely support a population of mountain gorillas. The vegetation in North America is very different from that of equatorial Africa, and being mostly herbivorous, The gorillas don't just rely on this vegetation for shelter, but also as their food source. So, what do gorillas eat? And would North America be able to provide the right diet for them? Gorillas eat a variety of different vegetation. This differs between the subspecies and depends on the habitat in which they live. Mountain gorillas eat leaves, stems, pith, and shoots from 142 different plant species. They also consume bark and flowers. Fruits make up a minimal amount of the mountain gorilla's diet, less than 2%, and invertebrates even less so, at just 0.1% of the total food they eat. Male mountain gorillas can eat as much as 19 kilograms, or 42 pounds of vegetation a day, and females around 15 kilograms, or 33 pounds. The other species and subspecies of gorilla also eat the same diet, but in different proportions. For the eastern lowland gorilla, fruit can make up as much as a quarter of their diet. It is more sparsely available than some of the other vegetation. So as a result, the eastern lowland gorilla travels further each day to feed, compared to mountain gorillas. Western lowland gorillas also eat a significant amount of fruit, and this varies between seasons. During the drier months, less fleshy fruit is available, and they may have to travel further to find their preferred food source. In North America, it is questionable whether there would be sufficient vegetation of the right type available for gorillas to feed on. They eat termites and ants, which are both abundant in North America, but these only make up a small proportion of the gorilla's diet. The lowland species need densely forested habitats. The eastern forests of the United States are predominantly broadleaf, whilst those in the west are primarily coniferous. Gorillas rely on a variety of leaves, shoots, and roots that would be more typical of broad-leaved forests. In the States, these cover an area of about 384 million acres. As we have already discussed, however, the climate in the most heavily forested states is not suitable for the survival of gorillas. El Yunque National Forest in Puerto Rico provides a much more gorilla-friendly habitat, and because it is situated between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, it has a tropical climate and therefore a year-round growing season, providing plenty of vegetation for gorillas. What about competition with other species or threats in the wild? In the wild, gorillas have few threats from non-human sources. In North America, there may be competition from the likes of bears over berry harvests and available roots and shoots. Both animals can dig for roots in the soil or climb trees in search of their food source. Fresh shoots are highly sought after for both of these animals, and competition over them may be fierce if their niches overlap. In Puerto Rico, however, threats from bears would not be present. Deforestation and the destruction of gorilla habitat are their biggest threat. They are also relentlessly hunted and killed for their bushmeat trade. Because gorillas are so similar to humans, they are affected by the same diseases that we are. Tragically, several hundreds of gorillas in the Republic of Congo were wiped out by the Ebola virus in 2004. A study 2 years later in 2006 concluded that the virus was responsible for killing more than 5,000 gorillas in Africa. Those held in captivity across the world also have become infected with the recent COVID-19 virus. In conclusion, we do not believe that gorillas would be able to survive in North America. The climate is not suitable for them, and where the habitat may provide the right kind of broadleaf vegetation, the seasonal variations and cold winters would not allow them to survive. The only exception to this appears to be El Yunque National Forest on the Caribbean island of Puerto Rico. This forest encompasses 28,000 acres of tropical rainforest situated on the Sierra de Luquillo Mountains. With gorillas in sharp decline across Africa, maybe reintroducing them to other refuge areas could help to recover their numbers. But what effect would this have on the other species that are endemic to those areas? That's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. You can also leave a comment with what you would like to see in the following videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time.